Hey folks, welcome to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Very, very sad day today. Pat Patterson, WWE legend, passed away today, and very sad day in the world of professional wrestling. Pat Patterson is more than a legend when it comes to professional wrestling. He had an amazing career that started way back in the early 60s. Now, growing up as a kid in Queens, New York, I watched Pat Patterson in the WWF, and well, he gave me such amazing memories growing up. I remember him; he was a fixture on TV whenever I would watch the WWF show on Channel 9. If I could say at midnights, I would watch it midnight Saturday, and once in a while I would get lucky and the Mets would have a West Coast swing, because back then the Mets, for every single game, was on Channel 9. Every single Met game was on Channel 9. If they had a West Coast swing, wrestling would be on noon on Sundays or sometimes noon on Saturdays. So I would look out there, but mainly most of the time I would fight to stay up to midnight and watch wrestling. And Pat Patterson was always a fixture. And two great memories that I have of Pat Patterson is, well, one, when he was the Intercontinental Champion back in 1980. He was defending the title against against Ken Patera, and they showed the match on TV, and it was the match where Pat Patterson lost the Intercontinental Championship to Ken Patera. Now, Pat Patterson was the first Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. He won the title in the made-up tournament in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. That's how it was billed. He won the tournament in Brazil and became the Intercontinental Champion, first Intercontinental Champion ever in the WWF, and in my opinion, the best Intercontinental Champion of all time. But on this day, he was defending the title against Ken Patera, and Ken Patera did win the Intercontinental Championship. And it's one of my favorite memories of Pat Patterson, because I remember watching it, and I didn't know the results. They didn't announce the result. They just said they're going to be showing Pat Patterson against Ken Patera. And I remember Pat Patterson, he was early on, he was getting manhandled by Ken Patera, and he was on the losing end. But then he came back and he started really laying it in the offense to Ken Patera. And I remember sitting there cheering for Pat Patterson, just cheering, wanting him to retain that title so bad. And because I knew Ken Patera was much bigger, much stronger than Pat Patterson, but Pat Patterson was laying it into Ken Patera. He would slap down the figure four a couple of times, and Ken Patera was just basically screaming for mercy. But Ken Patera, unfortunately, won the Intercontinental Championship on that night. I remember how upset I was. To see that, because I really wanted Pat Patterson to win. I was a big Pat Patterson fan, and that sadness was with me for a couple of days. I remember, because I really did not want Ken Patera to beat Pat Patterson, and that's the effect that Pat Patterson had on his fans. People backed Pat Patterson. They wanted to see him win. They wanted him to defeat the bad guy, in this case Ken Patera. The fans loved him. The fans loved Pat Patterson, and I was definitely one of them. And I remember storming up to my room and closing the door because I wanted to be left alone. Because Pat Patterson lost the Intercontinental Championship. Just such great memories. I was 10 years old at the time, and I was in my room for a while. I didn't want to leave my room. I was so upset. And I remember watching the match in East Meadow, Long Island. And man, another great memory. One, probably my favorite Pat Patterson memory, was the Sergeant Slaughter Cobra Clutch Challenge. I remember Sergeant Slaughter doing the Cobra Clutch Challenge for weeks after weeks on TV, and people were trying to get out of it, and people weren't able to do it. Wrestlers weren't able to do it. I remember Rick McGraw came close to getting out of the Cobra Clutch, and there were other wrestlers as well that attempted to get out. I can't remember the wrestler, but this went on for a number of weeks, and nobody was successful. And Sergeant Slaughter put up $5,000 and $10,000 for anyone that could get out of the Cobra Clutch, the Cobra Clutch Challenge. And I remember I watched this week after week, hoping that somebody would break out of the Cobra Clutch, but nobody was able to. And then I remember that one night, or it was either, I think it was in the afternoon, actually. It was an afternoon show that I was watching. But nonetheless, I watched the first run, and I remember the Black Demon in the ring. Sergeant Slaughter had come out, and if I'm not mistaken, a week prior to that was the Rick McGraw one. And Rick McGraw gave it a go, but he wasn't able to get out of it. So the Black Demon's in the ring. I wasn't familiar with the Black Demon. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a quick one. But then the Black Demon stands up and walks out of the ring, and waves off Sergeant Slaughter. Pat Patterson comes out to interview Sergeant Slaughter. Sergeant Slaughter says the Black Demon is yellow like you, Pat, and slaps Pat across the face. And I'm like, oh my God, right? And then Pat Patterson grabs Sergeant Slaughter. He goes, let's go in the ring, and he points to the ring. And Pat Patterson wants to take the Cobra Clutch Challenge. And I remember just the electricity going through me. I was like, oh my God, Pat Patterson is going to take the Cobra Clutch Challenge. Pat Patterson's going to take the Cobra Clutch Challenge. This was fantastic. I was like, oh, he's going to do it. He's going to get out of it. And Sergeant Slaughter finally puts the Cobra Clutch on Pat Patterson, and I'm just right up to the TV, basically yelling, go, Pat, go. Go, Pat, go. I wanted Pat to get out of that Cobra Clutch so bad. And Pat Patterson, the crowd was just electric for Pat Patterson. And they were cheering him on. And as I was in the den of our house in East Meadow, Long Island, and Pat Patterson tried to get out. He pushed off the turnbuckle. He tried to flip out, but he couldn't. And then he backed Slaughter into the corner, and he tried to get out. Then he rammed Slaughter's head into the turnbuckle. And I was like, oh, come on, Pat. Come on, Pat. Come on, Pat. And finally he got his hand underneath Slaughter's hand, and he was pushing, and I'm like, he's gonna do it, and he pushed Slaughter's arm off his head, and I jumped up, yes, Pat, yes. The crowd went wild, and then Slaughter attacked Pat Patterson and hit him with the chair and put the Cobra Clutch back on Pat Patterson, and I believe it was Tony Gurria, Rick Martel, and who was it? It was either Rene Goulet or Dominic. I think it was Dominic DeNucci. Dominic DeNucci came out, and it was Dominic DeNucci. They all came out, and actually DeNucci picked up the chair and was hitting Slaughter with it. And I was cheering DeNucci. I was like, because Patterson was bleeding at this point, and he was totally out of it, and finally, they got Sergeant Slaughter away from Pat Patterson, but Pat Patterson cut open and they raised his arm, and he was successful. I was just applauding, cheering, but I knew that this wasn't over, that this was just the start of the feud, and it led to the tremendous alley fight at Madison Square Garden. I think they had a number of alley fights, but the one I remember was the one at Madison Square Garden. Sergeant Slaughter was busted open and bled like a stuck pig, and Pat Patterson was victorious in the match. And great memories from Pat Patterson. There are so many memories, but those are the two that stick out in my mind for Pat Patterson. So I just want to say, Pat Patterson, thank you very much for the memories. You're an absolute legend. It was great growing up, watching you on TV, and you guys, professional wrestlers, you guys are my heroes. And whenever one of my heroes passes away, it's never a good day. Never a good day. So rest in peace, Pat. And once again, thank you so much for the memories. I'll always have them with me, Pat. Thank you so much. Well, that's it. This has been the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. I'm your host, Louis Carlin. And until next time, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.